Alright everyone, after 3 solid weeks with no presser, well a little bit more, and 3.5 weeks at this point, it is quite clear that the operative strategy of the Kamala Harris campaign is hide her. Just don't let her go out in public too much. You know, hold a few captive rallies. The legacy media will golf clap her. She doesn't need to mention policy. She doesn't need to answer any questions. If there are hecklers, she has a problem with those, apparently. I hope the Gaza protesters become a real big problem at the DNC. The legacy media will probably say, well, we've decided not to cover the events in Chicago this day. We've decided against it because of the risk that somebody might get hurt. Something like that. We're not going to show you the violence that probably unfolds outside of the convention hall. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. It's Hayden Harris. By the way, that moniker is mimetic and should be used as often as possible. She's not interested in giving pressers. She's not interested in going to rallies in areas where she might get heckled. She's not interested in engaging with anyone when she is heckled. We've seen that. She's not interested in taking any questions from journos, unless it's like someone handpicked who has been given the questions they're allowed to ask beforehand on a silver platter. In those cases, she's willing to speak. Every other time, it's just a bunch of vacuous sloganeering. You may have noticed this. Trump is constantly talking about his policy positions, especially the major ones, especially on immigration and inflation and stuff, when he campaigns, when he goes to a rally, etc., when he sits down with a member of the press, which he shouldn't even bother to do. You can get more press by simply appearing on a podcast, apparently. Kamala Harris just says, I'm going to defend democracy. Yay, goes the crowd. How? Again, like with my first video today, I want to know how you're going to do these things. It sounds great on paper. Defending democracy. Well, I want to defend democracy. That makes sense. What's your idea of what democracy even means? Because there wasn't really a democratic primary in the small d sense, now was there? They're trying to hide her. And they're trying to hide her because she's brainless. She doesn't understand policy. She was hired by the Biden campaign because of her skin color and because of her gender, as a counterbalance to the old, boring, senile white dude. That's the only reason she was hired. She was an also-ran to the max, got crushed in the debates, dropped out, had almost no support. Her fans were a bunch of bullshitters. She had, I mean, even worse than like Elizabeth Warren. Even Elizabeth Warren's, you know, gadfly fans, even they were more forgiving. The Kamala fans were like literally a cult. Thankfully, there weren't that many of them, so, you know, you might not have had that negative experience. If you're a content creator, you certainly did. Oh, they would pile into the comments and say the most vicious shit you could possibly think of. Absolutely vicious individuals, her core fan base. Most of her current supporters are just, you know, general liberals or Dem partisans, but that core, yeah, ooh, they would say some weird shit. Meanwhile, they're trying to cast Trump off as being racist and sexist and like a pig. It's very interesting because, no, quite the opposite was true. Biden's fan base is basically people resigned to the fact that he was going to be the nominee. That was a funny one. Kamala got out-debated. She's not a good public speaker, and they know this. Here's the problem. Her campaign knows that if exposed to the public too much, Kamala will lose. It is inevitable that she will lose. They're still nervous right now because she's tacking 5 points behind where Hillary Clinton was in an election that she lost, and several points behind in 4 of the critical swing states, and possibly Virginia, which shouldn't even be up for play. But with the choice of Tim Walz, you know, supposedly, and campaigns getting injected with new energy. She's got a vibrant, dynamic running mate. Yeah, one that's going to get cut to pieces by J.D. Vance, who also happens to be a veteran. That'll be very interesting, and that debate presumptively will happen. Kamala is so energetic and youthful and vibrant. Again, the hypocrisy of the legacy media pointing to her youth and inexperience. And by the way, Trump needs to echo Reagan and bring that up on stage. I will not make a campaign issue about my opponent's youth and inexperience, or something like that. He can get away with it. People will find it funny. The boomers will goddamn love it if he does that. Oh my god, he reminded me of the Gipper. Damn right, it's Trump time. Just do it. If Donald does that on the debate stage, it'll be hilarious. I'm a millennial. I get the reference. I wasn't even alive when Ronald Reagan was president. I was born, I think, right as he was leaving, if I remember correctly. Or maybe he was there for an extra year. Don't exactly remember. It doesn't really matter. He was already senile by the time that I was, pissing and shitting in my diaper. But that would be fun. Kamala is youthful and vigorous. Well, no, she's just psycho. She's a little bit too energetic. She's always like flailing around and shit like that. She looks like Beto O'Rourke, basically. She's the female BIPOC version of Beto O'Rourke. That's really what she is. Has similar views on guns, by the way. In fact, I'm pretty sure she quoted him the other day. Damn right we're taking the guns. Well, that's going to go over well with, the 100 million Americans that own them. I'm sure that no liberal owns an AR-15. That would never happen. No Democrat owns any firearms beyond the FUD stage. I think that you're wrong on that one. I think that was a miscalculation. By the way, again, we can't even get a proper gauge on the polls right now. There's too much political chaos. Until next month, we're not going to see anything meaningful in polling. You're going to see push polls, which are paid for by Kamala Harris's campaign, and you're going to see static, basically. So I don't even know if she's ahead at all. She could still be behind him. 1.1, that's not impressive. Clinton was at 5.6, I believe, at this point in the election. Well, that's quite a lead. And then she lost. Well, Harris, you have 5 points to make up. Goodness. That's about all. Peace out.